Welcome to Reflections, a program where we discuss values and virtues for the transformation of the individual and the society in general. I am Father George Ehusani, and I have with me in the studio once again our friend, Dr. Chichi Aniagolu Okoye. Chichi, you are welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Father.
Chichi is a sociologist, is a public commentator. Chichi is a country director, TechnoServe. Now, one of the last few issues we had of this discussion, we had Emeka Oji, who came in here and spoke about don't let any serious crisis go to waste. On account of our celebrating 60 years of independence and all the lamentations all over the place. I mean, you open newspapers, TV, internet, it is lamentations about failed promises, broken promises, for a great nation, a potentially great nation that has not become great on account of the behavior of a succession of leaders in this country. So, I have brought Chichi to the studio to discuss what must we do. Enough of lamentations. How do we go forward? Where do we go from here? 60 years, wasted years as it were. But if we realize that we have wasted 60 years today, if we have that realization today, there must be certain building blocks that we can start putting together to build the great nation that we are supposed to be. So, Chichi, our discussion today is beyond 60 years of independence, beyond lamentations. Nigeria is 60. Let's go beyond lamentations. What must we do? What are the ingredients of nation building that we have not been putting together, that we must now identify, put together? What are the core values we should have as a country? Core values. In America, you ask them for their core values, they will tell you life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What are our core values that we must begin to teach, to promote from family level through nursery school to university level and workplaces? What are those things we must do so that our reliance on oil for 62, 63 years, that every inch of land here, every square meter of land in Nigeria has resources. Above all, Nigerians are intelligent people, creative, ingenious, 200 million creative, ingenious people. There's a lot that they can achieve. The world of the future is not going to depend on material resources like from the ground. It's going to depend on what people can do with their brains. So let me ask you, Nigeria is 60, beyond lamentations. What must we do?
Thank you, Father, for having me. I think, first of all, I would like to set some foundations. First of all, I want to throw out of the window this whole thing about potential. Forever, for 60 years, we've talked about Nigeria's potential, and every year we get poorer. Every year, thousands of us are crossing the Mediterranean to leave this the desert, to leave this country. So this whole talk about potential, I'm going to just pack it, because for me it's actually annoying. Yeah. If you have a parent who is a drug addict, and people tell you, oh, do you realize that how intelligent this your father was, and what a great man he could have been,
what potential he has.
What potential he has. Of what use is that to you? When you're watching a man who is unable to take care of his family, is unable to do anything. As a matter of fact, telling you that he was brilliant and he was great, or that he had it's even so. You mean this guy actually had the capacity? If he was not a drug addict. So the more we talk about Nigeria's potential, I think that the more we upset people. So let us look at what we can do. And leave this potential business alone on the one hand. The second foundation I want to lay is what wealth really is. Because a lot of us are in the pursuit of wealth. And the way we have understood wealth is in money in our pockets, our individual
pockets,
wealth. And that is actually the least wealth in any society, if you pursue your personal financial wealth without looking at the wealth of the community, you actually don't get any richer. On the contrary, you're actually poorer. And I'll give you an example. No matter how rich you are, if you're the richest man in Nigeria, you will stand on a queue to get a visa to another country. If you are in that country and an emergency arises and you need to go to another country, for instance, you're in the UK and you need to immediately go to America, you can't get a visa.
No.
Even though you're the richest person.
You have to still come back here.
You have to come back. Maybe there might be some strings that you may pull, but you can't just do it. You know what I mean? But a child that has no penny in his pocket, an American child, is a teenager, can travel to half of the world without a dime in his pocket. So his individual wealth is irrelevant compared
because his country
because of the community
has
wealth.
a name.
Exactly. And also because the wealth, his individual wealth is irrelevant when compared to the wealth of his nation. So I think a lot of our leaders have gotten it wrong, that they think that their individual wealth is what they need to be able to shine. But what you need is the wealth of Nigeria. You need Nigeria to actually progress, for your individual wealth or lack thereof to actually mean something.
So if Nigeria does not progress, the very first point you want Nigerians to recognize is that if Nigeria does not make progress, individual wealth, the expansion of individuals by way of material things, cars and houses and all the things that we steal money and loot money for, we get poorer.
Exactly. And we see it every day. We are devalued every day. Our leaders have no respect, even in Africa. Look at what is happening to us in Ghana, our neighbor. Look at what is happening to us in Southern Africa, where we spent a lot of money, trying to help them get out of apartheid.
Just a few years after apartheid,
exactly.
we were like trash before them.
Because the poorer we get as a nation, the more people look at us, as beggars. So it doesn't matter that you have money. I think nothing has even demonstrated that more than coronavirus, where we suddenly realize that even though you have money in your pocket,
you can't go anywhere.
You couldn't go anywhere for health care that you felt at any point in time. England was your backyard. You could go there. Most people couldn't go there. A former governor, a friend of mine saw a former governor in one of the hospitals in Nigeria with a child, and people started laughing at him. And he was hiding his face or whatever in the place. He said, suddenly you realize that something can make you need a hospital in Nigeria. So, and interestingly, Father, we as Africans actually understood it before this whole colonial experience. The wealth of an African was never his individual wealth. It was his communal wealth. And we elaborated that in the names that we give children, yes. In the way that we describe our wealth, in the way so we actually understood that a person's well-being is completely tied to the well-being of his community.
Which is why the whole concept of Ubuntu.
Yes.
The whole thing about I am because we are.
Exactly.
And since we are, therefore I am.
Indeed.
This John Mbiti was a philosopher and especially a religious person who wrote about African traditional religions and African traditional philosophy. I am because we are. There is that communalism among Africans, which Julius Nyerere tried to build on anyway in his
Ujama
and so on and so forth. How we have so departed completely from that communalism to think that we can be islands of wealth amidst a sea of poverty. It's not possible now.
No, it isn't. And that's why I wanted to start from that premise, so that whatever it is that I say, that people recognize that the wealth of Nigeria is not external to their own well-being. Because it's almost as if when we talk, it's almost as if we're saying, that the leaders need to do this for us, and that somehow doing it for us,
they lose.
They lose, exactly. So what I'm trying to say is that the leaders gain even more, Because if you are ruling a country that has prestige, that has wealth, that is recognized, then you actually are better, regarded and better respected in the international community.
And most of us who travel to different countries, we recognize this. Most Nigerians who travel. I mean, I found myself one occasion, was it in Germany or somewhere, where I arrived at the airport, at the immigration section of the airport. I was about number 2 or 3 that arrived there. Now, when the guy saw my green passport, my Nigerian passport, he just a little effort to check the visa. He didn't see the particular visa that he needed to see. It was there, but he didn't have the patience. Once he looked 1 or 2, he said, "Park well," because I had green passport. He said, "Park well." Do you know I parked well? I was standing there until everybody from the plane had cleared before she attended to me to have the patience to look at my visa. Now, they won't do that to an American. They won't do that to a British person. They won't do that to a French person. They may not, today, they won't do that to a Rwandan. So, when your country has no good name, you have no good name.
Yeah. There's no, and I think that our leaders need to understand that. So, based on having set that foundation, let me go to answer the question that you asked, Father. Nigerians, actually, like you said, we're probably one of the most resilient people in the world. We're hardworking, we're dedicated. Most people in other parts of the world survive because of their countries, because of their government. We survive in spite of our government. And we have to stop that. That's the first thing. We have to become political animals. If we go through another 8 years of what we've been going through, we're headed for Somalia. Nigerians have to become political.
Wait, in recent weeks, when people say, look, if we go through another 4 years or another 8 years like this, we'll be destroyed. Oh, they say we are threatening government.
No, we're not threatening government. We are helping government. Because you're not going to be government of a country that does not exist. It is in the interest of government to have government functioning.
Yes.
And
to listen to critical voices about how things are going.
It is a responsibility of government to actually support citizens to help them function so that they continue to exist. So it is not a bad thing for people to become political. It is not a bad thing for people to become more involved in governance, because at the end of the day, everyone benefits. And so Nigerians have to join political parties. That's number one.
Join political parties?
They have to join political parties because we don't have independent candidature. And the challenge and the problem that we have with many political parties in Nigeria today, there's no internal democracy. And as long as there is no internal democracy, we're going to, how leaders are thrown up. Because at the end of the day, what we are asked to vote for is whatever it is the political party has thrown up. You and I are not in a position to just say, well, I don't want to be part of this. I'm going to go and run for my own election. No, you have to be part of a political process. And the political process, the internal democracy in Nigeria is next to zero.
If this is the situation with political parties in Nigeria, can't we call for a change in the laws so as to recognize independent candidacy?
For independent candidacy doesn't work anywhere in the world. It just doesn't work. You need a platform. You need a platform. You need the you need the momentum. You need the structure. You need a structure, whether we call it a political party or whatever it is. But you need a structure. There is nowhere in the world, even in the places where independent, it doesn't work. You need that structure, and so Nigerians need to go into political parties and begin to make a lot of noise in those political parties.
So number one, what we need to do moving forward beyond complaining, beyond lamenting, is that Nigerians who are 18 years and above should join political parties.
Yes, and not join it as their thugs or join it as their dancers, as we women tend to do. We go in there with an aim to say we are going to make sure that this political party begins to function as a political party, starting from the ward level. Most political parties in Nigeria don't have meetings. There's just no meetings. They don't have meetings, they don't have, until there are elections. And then they begin to mobilize their members, give them money, and
Do
then
they
they start
even have
playing.
meetings? What we see are, I mean, what do you call it? Rallies. Now, and it is not at rallies you can really plan.
What I'm saying is that a political party is supposed to be having monthly meetings, you know, at the ward level, at the state level, at everywhere. And that is where members are supposed to, you know, come in, give their ideas, talk about what needs to be done and the rest of it. None of that happens. Also because the people who are in the political parties are only there for their own benefit. So the state chairman is beholden to the governor, you know, is beholden to, because he's just looking for his pocket. But when you have, you know, in a state, you have 500,000 members of a political party saying this is what needs to be done. You have a woman leader who is saying that women need to be represented, you know, in this political party. That if you don't pull up 30% or 40% of women, that we're going to pull down this party. And you're looking at the membership is 300,000 women. And they have agreed. And you have maybe a WhatsApp platform where the women are saying we agree with it. You think that political party isn't going to change?
So how do you begin? Because you see, the people who are in these parties today, you know, as you say, I chop party. Many of them are there either as dancers or thugs or whatever to collect some handout from. Now, how do you begin this process of Nigerians becoming credible members of political parties with ideas as to how to transform this country and needing that structure, needing that platform? So how do you begin? Can individuals like you begin to mobilize professionals, professional women, professional men who come together? I remember that there's a group that you guys put together, the SALT Initiative.
Yes.
Can such initiative spread and have regular meetings? SALT Initiative used to meet like every month or every
quarter.
Every quarter. That kind of thing. How can it metamorphose not into a party but into something that can facilitate people joining parties and the kind of orientation of parties?
Well, I mean, I think you've just hit it on the head that we need the middle class. We need the middle class that are comfortable. Because what happens is that when people join political parties, it's because they want to run for a position. It's because they themselves want something from that party. I am talking about people like you and I who are not interested in running for anything.
But who are interested in Nigeria. And
who have their own independent income. So they are not going there, you know, where a piece of wrapper, you know, and a bag of rice is going to make a difference in their lives. People who are not in a position to be bribed because you don't even have what they need. In other words, as a political party, you can't bribe me because what I will need to be bribed is not something that you can actually afford to give me.
You have just touched on something, Chichi. The bane of Nigerian politics has been professional politicians.
Yes.
People who have no other profession.
Yeah. People
who started as thugs and then became personal assistants and then began to vie for office when their principals left office. And if you look various states in this country, you see that trend. They started as thugs, then they became PAs, personal assistants, then special assistants, and then they became... But how are we going to raise the consciousness and awareness of professionals, qualified entrepreneurs, university professors, people who are, corporate executives, who are comfortable, who, if they lose election, they go back to their jobs, and who cannot be easily bribed, as you said?
I'm not even talking further about their coming to run for anything. I'm not interested either. It's not even coming to law because that's what happens. Yeah. It's only when they want to run that they join. And they don't have
Nigeria to work better.
They don't have the leverage because they can't even communicate with the people who are in the party. So what you need is having thousands of Nigerians who don't want to run for anything, but who just say, I want to be, like you have in the West. People are members of the Democrats, of the Republicans.
Because I'm interested in how this society is run.
Exactly. And then you begin to go into that political party and you insist on having meetings. And if there is a critical mass of you, if there is enough of you,
the leaders will listen.
Exactly. They will have no choice but to listen. So for me, that is number one, because we can't continue to be a society where we survive in spite of our government, because there is only so much you can do as an individual. We need a structure, we need a government, that works for the people, not against the people.
This is interesting, viewers. The last time we discussed here to say, look, Nigerians have ignored government in large measure, so there is no security. We discussed, what I had with Emeka, we discussed the fact that there is no security in the typical Igbo village, and then the people organize themselves into vigilante and are paying the vigilante and are secured. There is no water supply. The people work together and set up a borehole. There is no road. The people contribute and do this. So the people are functioning and life is going on in spite of government. Governments don't really exist in many parts of this country. Now you are saying we should stop functioning that way.
Yes.
We should insist that government does what it's constituted to do, but to get that to happen, we should be part of governance by being in politics.
That is exactly what I'm saying, Father, because there is only so much. Yes, I come from the Southeast. We do a lot of, community self-help. But when you go, there are no roads. No, you can't build the highways. You can't build the type of hospitals that you require. There's so many things that you require government to do. That if you continue the self-help, it's great. And I think that, other parts of Nigeria should emulate the Southeast in doing that. But we can't do that in spite of the government, because it's a responsibility.
The irresponsibility will continue.
Exactly. And besides, there's a role for government, or they wouldn't exist in the first place. How much security? So one village is able to contribute money for the vigilante, and another village is not able to. How does that protect you? And why do we have the police? Exactly. And then we're paying the police every day, So for me, it is also an awakening for those who are in government. Because if you ask anybody, Father, and I'm sure you know many people, ask many people who were in government 10 years ago, most of them are broke. Most of them are broke and wishing that Nigeria functioned for them. If you look at people who were commissioners or whatever, maybe let us go even a little bit further, maybe in the 70s, most of them are broke. And now they're wishing, and they have no influence anymore. Because, when you're in power, you can call, IG this, you can do this, whatever. 2 days after you're out of power,
no.
You will not believe that you are the same person.
You won't be reckoned with.
Exactly. And so everybody needs the country functioning for them, especially if you have been in a position of power, because it is so much more difficult to adjust to an ordinary life that is as hard as Nigeria is when you have tasted the good life. And I know that what most people do is to say, let me steal some more, so that the more I steal, the more I can protect myself when I am out of office.
But it's self-defeatist.
Not only is it isn't working, because no matter how much you steal, as the country gets poorer, you get poorer. Look at the exchange rate is how much today? It's 460. 2 years ago, it was 180. So if you had said, okay, let me steal 100 million naira so that I will be able to have, $180,000, whatever the equivalent is, that money is less than half of what it is today. You can't do much with it. So it is for your own selfish. So what I'm saying is, for your own selfish reason, don't do it for Nigeria. For your own selfish reason, let this country function, because you will not be in power forever. You will not be.
So with your sirens and your numerous bodyguards and whatever, well, you will come out of that office.
You will. And because you don't even know, because most of them, like you said, Father, were from PA to this, they've actually never run a business. Many of them think, okay, I'm going to get this money, start a business. 90% of the people who are politicians, their businesses have failed, because it requires the same discipline. If you're somebody who's used to waking up at 11 o'clock, in the afternoon or in the morning or 1 o'clock, as a governor, you think that just because you now own your own business, that you're going to wake up at 6? Your body is not used to it. Your body is not. So if you don't have the discipline of working when you are in government, you're not going to have the discipline to run your own business.
On that
That's
note,
just the way it
we'll be
works.
bringing this segment to an end. We'll be discussing the fact that unless Nigeria works, the life of each Nigerian will not work. If Nigeria is not wealthy, no Nigerian is really, in real terms, wealthy. If Nigeria is poor, we are all poor. If Nigeria has a poor image, we all have a poor image. Our passport is useless if Nigeria, the image of Nigeria, is not elevated. So it is in our interest, it is in our enlightened self-interest to make Nigeria work. Thank you, Chichi. We'll bring this segment to an end, and then we will need to have another segment to continue this discussion. God bless you.